2, 1. What's up, you Panda Man? How you doing, y'all? Oh, I jinxed it because Cat had froze for 2 seconds. I was pretending like I froze on Cat and I had froze. Speaking of freeze, man. Speaking of Mr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze definitely isn't irredeemable. He definitely isn't an irredeemable villain. He's definitely a very sympathetic villain. And today we're finna watch a video about irredeemable villains, and it really goes over the whole process of it very well, and what counts as irredeemable, and how much a character can be considered irredeemable in their own voice. I mean, in their own type of universe and things like that. It's just really interesting. So you'll see what's up. So we're finna get into this. Let's see. There we go. Let's see which one I want to go with. This is kind of cool. I kind of like this one. Let me see. Let's see which one I'm gonna go with. We'll be off to the side a bit. I'm gonna check the audio real quick. Oops, I didn't.
There's no denying that people love a good villain.
Start it. So, okay, you heard that, right? We're just making sure.
Yep, I've been able to hear.
Okay, that's what's up.
I'm
just checking the audio on the stream real quick.
Apparently, somebody decided to activate the power to take away sound on my end so that you couldn't hear me.
Right. Okay. All right. So we finna get into this. 3, 2, 1.
There's no denying that people love a good villain. Whether you hate to love them, love to hate them, or just plain love them, everybody has a soft spot for a bad guy whose presence they can't help but enjoy. In fact, some villains are so well liked that despite the fact that they've committed crimes worthy of several thousand life sentences, their fans are willing to turn a blind eye to their misdeeds.
This is exactly why I think Loki shouldn't have been reformed, but that's a whole nother topic, whole nother bad one. That just like he said in the video when he was talking about committed so many crimes, it's like this man was trying to take over Earth and stuff, and I'm not even gonna get into that whole Loki thing, but I mean Loki should have just been chaotic neutral at best. They shouldn't have tried to make him turn into a whole hero. I never really truly watched the Loki series, but I mean, I know they're trying to turn him to a hero, but I'm not really.
As far as I can tell, this is because of 3 main reasons. 30% of the time, it's because the character is so well written, so well realized, that their words and actions carry a convincing gravitas that persuades people that this character, despite being fictional, has an understandable point. One that is worth the wrongs that they've committed. 10% of the time, it's because a generally small portion of the audience agrees with the villain's actions and will even go so far as to fight tooth and nail to defend them, all while refusing to admit that they're at fault. And the other 60%...
That's very true. They call that Draco and Larry Pants. That's when people downplay a villain's actions, oftentimes based on just because they have a tragic backstory or just because they have good intentions. That happens a lot with Azula. Azula, yes, she is tragic and things like that, but it's also true that she is also accountable for her own actions.
I don't know. Azula to me is just your typical crackpot. She's just not. Wait, is crackpot the term? I didn't want to just say nutcase. But she's just, to me, Azula is basically just evil for the sake of being evil. Very much so molded by her upbringing and who her father is and his expectations of her. But she doesn't really seem to struggle with that.
She struggles in the last couple episodes, not in the sense of she feels remorse.
Yeah.
But in the sense of like, because she's, her mother, like in the mirror, they was talking about, she's always used fear to control people. And so it's like a whole mental break of what she's known her entire life.
Yeah.
She couldn't use it to control them.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a chance for her to be redeemed just because of who she is, not so much what she's done.
Yeah, I would say not so much maybe because what she's done, because she has done a lot of terrible things. We don't know everything she's done, but we do know in her first introduction, she threatens to throw her one of her crewmates off the ship and things like that. So she's definitely probably killed a lot of people and things like that. But I mean, Iroh was also doing things, the Surge of Boston, saying things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just depends. It just depends. I think she could change, but it would just she would need something super drastic. It couldn't be something where she's just like, oh, poor Azula, just give her a hug. She would need something dramatic to happen to her.
Yes, she would.
But let's get back into it.
Is the villain is hot. No, don't deny it. It's okay. And the other 60% is the villain is hot. No, don't deny it. It's okay.
That's true.
You're not the first person to fall for a dangerously sultry fictional character.
That's true. That's true, too. That's true, too. People could forget, based on superficial things. Oh, Kat, you muted, bro.
I muted myself.
Okay. But I was just saying, based on superficial things, people could, like, if a villain is attractive, or they're cool enough, you can kind of play it to some extent. But
that's one of the things that will always be a reason for why I favor a villain is, do they look cool? Because I can't get into a villain.
Talking about attractiveness too, like sexiness wise. Like,
well,
Shigo come up. Oh, that's not her name. Shigo, is it? Not, is that her name?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah, Shigo.
Yeah. That's the reason why pretty much every one of my villains has one of my favorites has a cool side to them, whether it's how they compose themselves or how they look or a mixture of the two.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say the villains that aren't that way are bad. It's just it makes it so that I can't get into them as a character, if that makes any sense. I mean, heck, sometimes you can be a fan of a villain just because of the fact that they look cool, not so much because of their personality and how they're written.
That's true too, man.
Like Sephiroth, for example.
Right. Yeah, Sephiroth is one of the parts of this thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna send one person something. See if they want to get in. They probably they ain't even online, but I doubt about it. I was like, I should have asked him to be in here, but we'll see. He pops up. But anyway, let's get back into it.
And you most certainly won't be the last. I mean, with the way sex appeal is sprinkled generously amongst most villains, it's kind of hard to blame anyone for doing so. Now, taking all of that into account, I want to address a couple of questions that are always at the back of my mind when I find myself actually sympathizing with the bad guy. How far is too far when it comes to the deeds of a villain? Is there such a thing as a completely irredeemable antagonist? Well, let's find out together, shall we?
By the way, you got problems with
let's get
pausing.
this out of the way. Is it okay to like a villain despite their immorality?
I couldn't hear you.
At the end of the day, it's all fiction.
I was saying also, to anybody who would be watching this in the future who has a problem with us, keep pausing and discussing. You always go support the official, original creators. You want to watch all the way through.
I find it interesting that Atreus is shown in this because he is not a villain at all. Like I'm watching this video and I'm thinking, why is Brad Pitt's character from Ocean's 11 shown here?
Like you heard what he was saying. He's basically just at the point just showing villains. He was just saying we're finna go over what point, because he says he found himself sympathizing with a villain despite their actions. So he's basically going over to what point could we consider them irredeemable. That's what he's saying.
No, I know. It's just
I don't think he was specifically saying it was irredeemable. That specific villain was irredeemable.
But that character is not a villain in that story. I mean, he's a criminal, but all the main characters are criminals. So
I mean, a criminal is a villain.
Yeah, but there's no protagonist that you root for. It's not like Death Note, where L is clearly the hero, but Light is obviously the villain, despite being the protagonist. In Ocean's 11,
he's a villain protagonist. They call him villain protagonist.
Right. In Ocean's 11, everybody is a criminal. Everybody that we focus on is a criminal, and there's no character that really fits the mold of a hero because, well, I mean, maybe the guy they're robbing. So yeah,
You what?
I guess that's Anyway, I don't know. I thought it was interesting how
He was here.
yeah, how he put a clip of him up there, and then Atreus, because
He was just putting bad guys. Really, I think he's not. He's about to go into it though. He's gonna go to.
because Atreus is not villainous at all. He's like Kratos, yeah. His son.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We still got like 11 something minutes of this.
First of all, let's get this out of the way. Is it okay to like a villain despite their immorality? Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's all fiction. The important thing is that we don't hero worship them and apply that action.
Oh yeah. If you know, he was just putting a trays up there just for the thumbs up meme.
I see it now.
Huh?
I see it now. I see it now.
Is it okay to like a villain despite immorality? Yeah.
Moral code of the day, it's all fiction. The important thing is that we don't hero worship them and apply their actions and moral code to the real world.
I unfortunately
Basically,
have done that.
Try your best not to end up like this, dickhead. With that out of the way, let's talk about the actions of the villain and how far they would need to go for them to, in my opinion, be irredeemable. Now, violence is a pretty bog standard aspect of most villains, and a lot of the time it progresses to straight up murder. You'd be hard pressed to find a bad guy without a body count, and depending on the situation, killing can either be acceptable or terrible, horrible, no good, very bad. Let's look at a few examples, starting with the quote-unquote good.
Okay. So this is super interesting. Because yes, every single villain, well, at least most villains, they definitely do commit murder and such. So it's interesting to go over what could be considered quote unquote acceptable acts of murder and what are just utterly, wickedly evil. So that's really interesting. That's a really interesting point right there. You agree with that? Yo, did you mute yourself? Sorry for technical difficulties on Cat, man. Yo, Cat, I can't hear you, man. You just have to dip out and come back. Sorry for technical difficulties. Hope you heard what I said, though. Because I was really talking, man. I was really going in. I was really using my brain power. Make sure to join the Discord, too, man. Make sure to join the Discord. I have a Discord. Discord, whatever will you do? Sleeping in the middle of a summer afternoon. Discord, when he first appeared, was a seemingly irredeemable villain. I think that's an interesting point too. A villain that can be seemingly irredeemable, but it's just something about them to where you ride a certain way, they could be redeemable. Yo.
Yep.
Did you hear me? When I was talking about the good and the bad.
I've always been able to hear you.
Wow, that sounded romantic. The good and the bad, when he's like, that's a good point of the video. This is the part of it. I was like, okay, this is going to be a great video. Like when he was talking about, pretty much every villain has a body count, so we're going to go over what could be considered acceptable and the bad.
Not everyone.
Huh?
Not everyone has a body.
He said just about every villain. Most villains have at least killed one person.
Well, here's a question for you. When talking about the body count, does that include who they've killed prior to becoming a villain, or only when they've been a villain?
What do you mean by that? Because
there are some characters who weren't villains to start and had killed in the past.
I think it all depends on motive of what makes someone a villain.
So, for example, if we had a hero who fell from grace and became evil, would we count those that hero killed while they were a hero, or just who they killed when they were a villain?
Count for what? For
the purposes of this conversation about every villain having a body count.
I would say so, because if if they already were kind of corrupt, then
The
they could
person.
make it more believable why they became villains.
Well, I wasn't actually talking about somebody who was corrupt at all, really. Um,
You're saying like an example, like maybe if like someone killed someone like in a bar fight or something.
I'm just gonna say who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Since we killed demons as part of his job, so would we include the demons he killed as part of his body count, even though he wasn't a villain at the time?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's what I was curious.
His motives in general are different. His motives, what he was doing then, he was protecting society from what he deemed as dangerous. What he does as a villain is allowing the things that are dangerous to attack society, pretty much.
Right.
That was a difference.
I wanted to ask that because I was a little confused about that at first.
And what I was going to say is too is I feel like what ultimately determines a villain is motive. And he'll kind of go over that too, because there's plenty of heroes who do kill a lot, but there's reasonings for it, and everything is subjective, to be fair to that. But, so he's going to go over, the quote unquote acceptable and the quote unquote wicked.
The rogues only targeting cops that come up. This is a pretty bog standard aspect of, in my opinion, be irredeemable. Now, violence is a pretty bog standard aspect of most villains, and a lot of the time it progresses to straight up murder. You'd be hard pressed to find a bad guy without a body count, and depending on the situation, killing can either be acceptable or terrible, horrible, no good, very bad. Let's look at
killing Abby Wall would be acceptable.
Few examples, starting with the quote unquote good. Rogues only targeting cops that come after them while avoiding killing innocents, not so bad. Known killer Reaper option to avoid executing the surrendered combatant, at least he's not committing war crimes. Templar Knight Alexander Anderson refusing to cleanse London of Protestants and unfaithful Catholics. Nice to see that his moral compass is still pointing north. Now let's tackle them.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Did he just name Alexander Anderson a villain? Really?
He's kind of an anti-villain.
The Major is the villain. Millennium
is the ultimate villain, but Alexander, in a way, is kind of a
why? Because he tries to kill Alucard, who is a vampire.
He enjoys murder, ain't it?
Vampires? I mean,
he's not. To my memory, he's not like truly in it for the sake of goodness. He's in it because he,
I mean.
But he's basically just saying. I'm not sure he's exactly saying he's a villain. I think you're taking that too literal. He's saying the acceptable. Yeah, you gotta really listen to it. He's saying what could be considered acceptable. And let's go over Alexander.
The problem is the fact that he's using those clips to begin with. It kind of throws me off at points.
Okay, so we'll see what he said about Alexander again. So we'll see. Oh yeah, by the way, you don't have your cam on, you never or not.
Nah,
Templar Knight.
Because otherwise, you'd be staring at my ceiling at this point if I had it on.
Okay, I got you. How bad is too bad? That's a good idea.
Option to avoid executing surrendered combatant. At least he's not committing war crimes. Templar Knight Alexander Anderson refusing to cleanse London of Protestants and unfaithful Catholics. Nice to see that his moral compass is still pointing north.
I can't hear him at all, really. Like, I can hear the echoing. And I can hear that someone's talking, but I can't really hear the words that are being uttered.
He's talking kind of fast at this part.
Yeah, I feel like I'd have to go and watch this on my own to really get the gist of it, unfortunately.
At least this part. He talks slower.
Now let's tackle the Harmer taking her albeit justified anger out on Fire Nation citizens who had nothing to do with her imprisonment. That's a bit terrible.
You agree with that? That's obviously terrible.
I really can't hear what he's saying because it's not clear for me what he's saying. Like, funnily enough, I think I've actually seen this video before.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see what we're finna do. Okay, so you're having trouble watching this. So
I guess
how much did you get of that?
I guess what I should have done is just watch the video before this. I mean, it varies. Um,
Dang. Dang, man. Trying to think. It would be if we wasn't streaming, I'll have a lot of time to think. Okay, so what we'll do is I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. So okay, so is the echo loud?
the echo is loud.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Okay. And I'm gonna try mute myself. I'm gonna see something. And tell me if it sounds better when I mute myself.
Okay.
North. Now let's tackle the bad. Harmer taking her albeit justified anger out on Fire Nation citizens who had nothing to do with her imprisonment? That's a bit terrible.
Yeah, I can. It's just the way he talks. It's kind of hard to tell everything he's trying to say because
I do agree he's talking fast at this part.
He's honestly, it'd be better to watch it in slow down.
Okay, I got you.
Also, I don't know if it's just me, but it sounds like he has an accent, which is not me saying anything against it, but I'm finding
you really roasting the fuck out this man, bro. I'm telling you.
I'm not trying to roast him at all. I'm just saying,
you've been on him this whole video.
For me, for whatever reason, I'm having difficulty understanding what he's saying because of the way he talks, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. He has a bit of accent, yeah. Okay, so I'm slowing it down, so
Harmer taking her albeit justified anger out on Fire Nation citizens who had nothing to do with her imprisonment? That's a bit terrible.
Okay, I heard that a little bit. Who was he talking about though? In
Hama.
Who's that?
Hama was the one in Avatar who, she learned about bloodbending.
Oh, that's what I thought he was talking about. I really don't remember her, but I do remember she was pretty dastardly.
He was saying, because he was starting off with the bit, the DI was getting, so the more acceptable stuff was the guy who was like getting attacked by cops, and so he fought back, and he was also saying Alexander, like his morality was pouring north. I don't know exactly what that means, but I guess he's saying what he was doing was not as bad, and he's kind of going to the middle point where this is terrible, but he's not. It's not the point at irredeemably terrible.
Right. Okay, I got it.
She's taking her anger out on citizens, and it's really bad. But he's like it gets even worse. It's worse things.
Yeah.
Because she didn't kill him or anything, but still, she locked him up. But yeah, okay. So we'll continue.
Anakin slaughtering defenseless innocent younglings just because Emperor Bolsack told him to?
Do it.
Horrible. Andrew Ryan's pursuit to maintain order in Rapture through silencing his competitors? Not good. Magneto attempting to commit genocide on not one, but two separate occasions because of anti-mutant sentiment? Very, very bad.
That's debatable.
What?
The Magneto thing's debatable because mutants are arguably not human, so it's kind of similar to a human killing an ant.
Nah.
Serious. The only reason why we're bothered by it is because we're human beings. But if we were mutants, we might not see it that way.
Mutants are also human. They just have powers.
They are, but they might as well not be considered humans because their powers make them different enough. Like,
I'm not letting Magneto off on that.
I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm just saying, from our perspective, yes, it's awful because we're human beings.
That's definitely worse than what Hama did, though.
Well, look, I'm not saying, oh, Magneto, it's good that you killed these people. I'm just saying it's not necessarily that bad because
it's terrible.
It's like imagine if an Asgardian.
Because the only thing we could do, I get what you're saying, because I agree to some extent, but the problem is the only thing we could do, we can only base, for the most part, we can kind of only base human morality off of human morality. And the thing is, right, it'd be different if mutants inherently have different morality from humans, but they don't. They still have the same mindset of humans. They still have the same way as humans.
It also depends on who Magneto is killing specifically. Like,
I think say he's just genociding people. Let me go back over it.
Magneto attempting to commit genocide on not one but two separate occasions because of anti-mutant sentiment. Very, very.
It looks like he's tagging bridges and stuff. He's just killing human beings, like the civilians.
you know, I don't know. I mean,
Because he doesn't have a like what you're saying could be a good point for the ants, right? Because they have a different,
yeah, for the Chimera ants.
Moral code, but that's different. The Chimera ants are different.
Yeah, for Merlin.
Yeah, the mutants aren't Chimera ants. They still think like human beings. Magneto does what he does, which is evil. He's a human being. So
he does it for. Okay, obviously there's no right reasons for genocide, but he does it for. Well, he does it because of past traumas, which again doesn't excuse what's happening. But
I do sympathize with him, but I mean, it is terrible. It is horrible. Like, it's like no way around it. See, because your point isn't wrong. Your point isn't wrong. The problem is that while morality is subjective, when we talk about fictional characters, it has to be a level to where it kind of isn't subjective. We kind of have to base a formulaic right and wrong based on what we know what right or wrong is, based on what we're taught. In real life morality is subjective, but in fiction we kind of have to. It can be subjective, but we kind of do have to base it off of something. And the only thing we can kind of base it off of is what we know from human morality. And what we know from human morality is that killing people is wrong, even if, you want to get to the whole point that we're also animals and, killing a human is just as bad as killing a deer, whatever you want to get into that.
I'll never agree with that because, I
think on some levels you could argue that, but I'm not going to get not going to go that level.
We also base it on the fact that our laws are written in a certain way, and
we base it on the fact that you're right, we're human. If we weren't human,
I'm not trying to just so I'm making it clear. I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, there's never a time in which human genocide is a good thing. Never. It's never a good thing. Now, if I wasn't human, I probably wouldn't be bothered by that, but I'm a human being, so of course I'm going to be.
Yeah, that's the point. We can only really base off morality based on what we know.
I base it off of causing suffering and taking somebody's right to live away from them. That's how I see it. Because
Magneto still is a human, so
that's how I deem it. But yeah, that's true.
He's not like an alien, then. He's like human.
Yeah, he's not Thanos.
He just has powers. And even Thanos has human morality. Well, not really. I mean, he doesn't have human morality because he's insane. But on a system of how his brain works like how we human like, if that makes sense.
And he's a villain that he's
a humanoid.
I'm not going to say that.
What you gonna say?
I was going to say something that would probably get me a lot of hate.
You villain that you agree with? That's what you gonna say?
Somewhat.
See, the problem with Thanos is that he definitely had better options.
My whole issue with Thanos is the fact that he had these extremely powerful artifacts that could essentially allow him to do anything he put his mind to.
Right.
And instead of saying, oh, well, I'll just use the powers of these stones to make it so that no beings ever run out of resources, right. I'm going to have all life.
That was the point, though. He was a madman.
And he didn't even, and it's not like he said, oh, I'm going to just have the lives of, all human-like beings. He said everything. So that includes all birds,
plants.
Every kind of, all plants.
Yeah, that's where the world was struggling. Like you saw, the world was struggling. Like once it took off half the people, the whole world was struggling. The economy was broken.
That's where his logic is complete. I mean, his logic is
that's a point though. That's not a writing flaw though. It's like that's on purpose.
Yeah, it's just if he really Like, I don't think they would have been as bothered by that if it was just all of the people. I mean, it would still be
Nah, they
sad.
wouldn't bother. They definitely wouldn't have allowed it.
It would
But you
still
saw
be,
the economy it was like broken down stuff like
yeah.
in game and I think the creator says somewhere that Thanos on some level that it's possible that he's not even truly well attended. He's just trying to prove that he was right.
Yeah.
Because
He also
he's
makes himself.
kind of bitter. He's kind of bitter on the fact that his people didn't take his way of it's still sympathetic, but it is a bit selfish. He's a bit more selfish
I don't
than he
think you
may
can
seem.
sympathize with Thanos. I don't really think you can sympathize with Thanos because
Why? Because he had better ways to go about it.
he had better ways to go about it, and his becoming the way he became was not fueled by trauma or any past.
I mean, his plant was destroyed because they didn't listen to him.
It was destroyed, but at the same time, I mean, he became a ruler. He ascended into a position of power. He must have had a lot of wealth accessible to him. So,
A better way to say it, you can sympathize with Thanos, but you can't sympathize with him too much.
I can only sympathize with him regarding what happens to Gamora. That's it.
I mean, he does that himself, though.
He does that himself.
So
But that's the only time I can sympathize with him is feeling sorrow over having done that. But that's it. Outside of that, no.
I mean, I do because he's it's kind of like a Walter White situation. He's selfish, but he's also kind of deluded. Like it's like he refuses to. He probably refuses any other option because, like you said, he's down his mind. He's like, my people didn't follow my way, so I'm just gonna make sure they know that my way works. Like, remember how he was just gonna destroy the entire universe because they wouldn't follow his way.
Yeah, honestly, when you said Walter White, I just kept thinking about, gee, what if it turned out
Walter White?
if it turned out that Walter White was, seeking to use the meth,
The Fanny Gauntlet. Imagine.
to use the meth trade to earn enough money to fix the world's problems.
Imagine this Walter White is purple and he just has a Fanny Gauntlet.
He's not the one who knocks; he's the one who pays.
Yeah, say my name, and it's just like I don't know. He does something with reality, makes people say.
Oh my god!
He like loses the illusion stone to give himself a top hat.
Every time you say his name, he has complete power over everything around you.
Yeah,
you're Heisenberg. Okay,
Walt would go mad with that power. Like I saw something on Reddit. They was talking about what if Walt had the Death Note. Like,
oh my god! Here's the thing about the Death. Actually, wow, that is an interesting discussion.
I'll just imagine Walt saying, "I take a tail chip and eat it."
If Walter White had the Death Note, huh? Well, I guess what he would do is he would kill every possible competitor of his.
Would he even use it though in the first place? Because we gotta remember what drove him to kill in the first place was him being in danger.
Well,
what reason would he have to even use it?
Well, we'd have to assume that he would have gotten it after he choked that guy to death, because that was when he was still, a feeling human being who would get saddened by taking any life, right? And then obviously over time he gets used to it and he becomes cold-hearted. It would have to have been after that when, I guess, with Tuco,
because Light had a specific reason to kill. Yeah, you're right, Tuco. That'd be a good situation for it. Yeah.
Yeah, he pulls out the Death Note and probably has Hector kill himself or gives Hector a heart attack, and then. God, now I kind of want to do a discussion at some point on going through Breaking Bad if Walter White had the Death Note.
I would just say this though: Walt would never get to the point where he'd be willing to kill his family like Light did.
Oh hell no! And I don't think he'd ever use it on Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, no, because I forgot you have to kill because they die afterwards. Even you just
Yeah.
controls like he had mind control. Like if he had Lucius Gios, he would definitely probably use the Gios on Jesse.
If he had Lelouch's Gios, my God, he would literally rule the world.
I mean, we know Walt would go mad with power though, because it happened in the show, you know.
And yeah, and I mean,
I just imagine Walt saying, Jesse, you asked me if I'm in the meth business or the money business. Neither. I'm in the godhood business.
oh my God, the God business. I'm in the Empire. No. I'm not in the Empire business. Wait, what did he say? Did he say
he
was
says, Jesse, you asked me if I'm in the meth business or the money business. Neither. I'm in the empire business.
What he would say is, I'm in the kingdom business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the godhood business. Like I'm
God.
in the godhood, just like light.
I'm in the heaven business.
Like,
oh God.
imagine he's like, you better pay up for my meth, or I'll write your name in this book. What would be
honestly,
it'd actually be scary for Walt to have death note.
Honestly, though, I could conceivably see him getting to a point where he kills Skylar if he has the Death Note, because
Skylar's his Misa.
Well, I mean, with the exception being that Light never actually cared for Misa,
right?
But obviously Walt did.
I don't know why we ever put in Skylar's name in the Death Note.
He probably wouldn't, but I feel like there was a time in which he was like, "Oh, I wish she wasn't here, so I could, see my children still."
I mean, if he wanted to kill her, he can kill her though and get away with it.
But then again, he never wanted any harm to befall Hank, despite the fact that he figured it out. So
he would never, he would never do it.
Yeah, he still had enough humanity in him to not. Well, I don't know if that's humanity. I guess it's humanity.
The only thing though that'd be the difference that Walt probably wouldn't start off with the same well-intended goal as Light did.
Yeah.
That would really be the only difference. But let's get back into the video. To the video.
Sorry, I got us way off topic.
Nah, we both got off topic. I had actually stopped sharing the screen. We both had a chance to end it. I mean, it was a great
we'll have
Very bad. But actions are nothing without context, which is why I tried my best to at least explain why the ladder villains did what
Also,
they did.
one thing.
Exactly.
To anybody watching this, my comment about his accent was not to say anything offensive about him or anybody who has an accent. I just found it to be difficult to listen to him at first. So if anybody took what I said in that way, I do apologize for that. That was not my intention.
But yeah, that's also why you gotta finish the video too, though, because like he just said, I'm gonna talk about that motive because motive does matter. Like he was talking about motive does matter. You know, like I said, trust me, bro, this is a perfect video to me for the most part. I mean, besides showing the little clips of people who you don't consider evil, it's not exactly. I mean, that's just showing clips and stuff. He's not saying they're evil. He just.
I feel like I wouldn't question it if I watched more of his stuff, because then I would know why he does it.
Like he said about the murder stuff. That was some great stuff when he was talking about the. Into the acceptable. Okay, hold on a sec. When he was talking about the acceptable and the unacceptable, that was great to me. Like I
wanted to comment on the whole Anakin thing. Yeah, Anakin was not like you literally let a man tell you to kill a bunch of kids and you did it.
Right.
Like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. And then it went any farther with the other guy trying to do something. But yeah.
I mean, whether the ends justify the means all comes down to three things for me: emotion, sanity, and setting. Does the character take pleasure in the immoral acts that they're committing?
Okay, this is great. Emotion, sanity, setting. Because all this matters. Couldn't
it be argued that sanity and emotion are kind of interchangeable?
No. Sanity is like, he'll get into it, but just think about it. We can't basically he's gonna get into it, but basically think about this, right? Emotion is like you're angry. Sanity is like someone's not all the way there, and someone's not all the way there can't be put in the same light of
Yeah.
someone who is completely in control of their actions, basically, kind of thing.
Yeah, sanity is about your rational thoughts or lack thereof.
Right. Like if you're diagnosed with multiple personality disorder or something, you can't put that person in the same level of monstrosity that someone who,
Yeah.
is completely in control of their actions, basically.
Does the
And setting, because setting does matter, like, yeah.
character take pleasure in the immoral acts that they're committing? And setting. Does the character take pleasure in the immoral acts that they're committing? Is the character of sound mind or mentally stable when said acts are being perpetrated? And finally, does the setting affect the severity of the character's actions?
Yes, it does.
It can.
Vegeta.
Well, yeah.
Let's start with emotion. On one end of the scale, we have Mr. Freeze, a man who, when written right, is only a villain for one reason alone: to save and or avenge his wife. He hates the fact that he has to break the law. He hates the fact that he has to lower himself to the level of supervillain to get what he wants. But it's the only way, or at least the only way he believes, he can save the life of his cryogenically frozen wife. It's obvious to anyone, including Batman, that he takes no joy in doing what he does. Then, on the other side of the scale, you have the Master, a cruel, sadistic genocide in physical form whose sole purpose is to cause chaos and bring misery to the Doctor. They have grand plans and schemes, that much is true, but they'll throw any and all of them away just to screw with the Doctor and his precious humans.
When I kill them, Doctor, it gives me a little buzz. Right here, in the hearts.
Emotionally, they revel in the carnage they cause.
Yep, that's definitely a difference. Obvious one. But
I can't comment on Doctor Who because I've never watched it.
Right, but you see his point where he's talking about, there's a difference between Mr. Freeze, who doesn't have any enjoyment out of it, and is doing it to save someone, compared to, them who, is committing genocide and such, but just because they revel in the pain and suffering of others.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
A far cry from the reluctant Mr. Freeze, who is often forced into being a villain. Now, while emotion refers to the character's emotional state in which they commit their villainous acts, sanity refers to their mental state.
Poor Azula, man. She's actually kind of tragic.
For example, Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, was brainwashed into becoming a Hydra assassin. Morally and logically, he should be absolved of any and all actions he committed under the identity of the Winter Soldier.
I agree with that, but at the same time, I don't blame. I think Cap should have let Iron Man beat him up a little bit. Even if it wasn't his fault specifically, because it's I don't know, maybe because he would have killed him, but
I mean,
I don't blame you. You definitely can't blame Iron Man for wanting to hurt him.
Well, of course not, because he just learned that this guy killed his parents.
And like you said, Bucky wasn't a sound of mind. That's what he means to sanity. We can't hold that against Bucky,
Well, it wasn't necessarily insanity. It was essentially a brand new personality.
And he literally was brainwashed. He literally, he kind of can't be held in kind of boy.
Brainwash is basically mind control.
Right.
Basically.
Anybody can be brainwashed. So it's
anybody can have their minds broken so badly to the point in which you can literally mold them into whatever you want them to be. But anyway.
A greyer area is another form of sidekick who returned from the dead as a more ruthless and violent version of their previous selves.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Todd, the Red Hood. After he was resurrected by Superboy Prime punching reality.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. I know.
He was placed in a Lazarus pit so that his wounds could heal, which in turn drove him a little bit batty. So while Jason's brain chemistry was affected by the pit's waters, he still retained control of himself. His actions were his own, albeit more irrational, which means that while he is not completely blameless for the Red Hood's more unhinged actions, it is not entirely his fault.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point about the gray area, because yes, it's something that drove him more cruel, but he still is there. You know, it still is his choice. That's a good point. So that's a more gray area.
Does it make it easier for you to think that my little dip in his fountain of youth turned me rabid? Or is this just the real me?
And in the area so grey it's almost black, we have Dracula from the Castlevania series. Now this guy wanted to wipe out the entirety of the human race. He wanted to commit genocide, perhaps the most irredeemable act a villain can commit. But as we were shown, this was because Dracula had completely lost his mind. Mentally, he had snapped after the unjust murder of his human wife. His actions weren't motivated by anger or rage, but grief. He simply wanted everything to end, and eventually he got that wish when he allowed Alucard to end his life after he broke down upon realizing he was about to murder his own son.
Your greatest gift to me, and I'm killing you.
This series hit.
I didn't like
I
season 2.
must already be dead.
And finally, we come to setting. Now, what exactly do I mean by setting? Well, it's quite simple, really. Does the story's setting change how a villain's crime is perceived?
Love how he used a villain from the Venture Brothers. That's just so funny.
That's what because he's talking about setting. Because I'm pretty sure, you know, he
No, I
kinda
know.
means-
But because
it
because
is
of the
true,
comedy
like-
series,
right. So it's different. It's a comedy series. So
yeah, it's like the villain is kind of hard to.
yeah, it depends on the setting. That's very true. You know,
Like, for example, Dr. Evil. I can't hate Dr. Evil at all because he's literally like there to be funny.
yeah. So yeah, it definitely depends on the setting. Because although there could be, you know, Joker, there could be characters that are funny, but their actions are still played seriously.
Depends on the genre.
Right.
A good example of this is Dragon Ball Z. Half of the Z fighters are former villains that range from petty thieves to goddamn genocidal
You call
warlords.
Yamcha a villain.
He said petty deeds to genocide warlord.
I know, but I wouldn't call Yamcha a villain.
He was an antagonist.
Yeah, an antagonist.
You don't get that he's just using like examples to
I
compare
know,
the things of the day.
but I mean, there's no denying that Vegeta was absolutely awful.
Right.
I mean,
I
Vegeta has
hope he lists Hiei here because Hiei definitely was not on the good side.
Yeah. He was
Kurama
he was just
also.
a demon.
Kurama
Yeah, he was
also.
a demon, just killed people.
Kurama was very villainous. Back in the day.
Yeah, before he met his human mother and things like that.
Mm.
destroyed planet and genocidal warlords. I mean, Vegeta has destroyed planets and is both directly and indirectly responsible for the deaths of a large majority of the cast. His kill count is insane for anyone who should ever be considered a hero. But because Dragon Ball plays fast and loose with death and consequences, it's brushed to the side for the most part. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not watching DBZ for the tightly written narrative and complex exploration.
You're
of
also
morality.
talking about a world where people can be brought back to life.
Yeah, that's what he basically said. So
And
it's like-
and heaven exists. So can we
Right.
really feel that bad if Vegeta sent people literally into a better place?
Right. That's basically
No.
what he's saying. That's basically what he's saying because it's like it depends on the setting. Like in this world where death is blood brushed to the side, it's like his actions aren't, like he kills enough people. Like these people weren't brought back, but he'll be completely and utterly irredeemable.
Yeah, but they're probably all chilling up in heaven, having a grand old time. Like,
Or they could just come back anytime because the Dragon Balls can bring someone back as long as they don't die from natural causes.
true.
So yeah.
Wait, is that I thought it was. You can only be brought back if you haven't died from natural causes. Huh. I guess that makes sense.
No. Yeah, that's the way it works. Yeah, that's the way it works. You can be brought back if you didn't die from natural causes.
I'm guessing it's
Like,
different for the Super Dragon Balls, but
with the first Dragon Balls, I don't think they work like that. But once they got the new Dragon Balls, that's basically what it's talking about. So someone could be brought back. Like if they got killed or something, they could be brought back. But you die from natural causes, you just stay dead.
which makes sense.
Right.
Want to see big beefy dudes punch other big beefy dudes and get hype over giant glowing balls. But then, in something like the Justice League animated series, it's much different. You have a similar situation to Vegeta teaming up with the Z Fighters on Namek to fight Frieza, with the Justice League and Legion of Doom teaming up to fight Darkseid. Only after all is said and done, the Legion of Doom don't get to hang around the Watchtower and bone Batman. They're given a 5-second hit.
Wait! Batman kissed a cat?
Yeah, that was
Don't get to
Cheetah.
hang around the Watchtower and bone Batman.
Wait, what? Oh, Batman's a furry? Oh,
Oh.
man.
So to put it into context, to add some context, he tricked her into kissing him so that he could break out.
Okay. I mean, she's half human, I guess. So not to judge, I guess, too much, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd be worried about getting a hairball in my mouth.
you licking the pussy.
Well, because
Anyways,
her
man.
entire face is covered in fur.
Right. Batman.
It'd be like kissing someone with a full beard.
Right. I mean, it's so many pussy jokes that could be made.
Oh my god. It's a good thing my cat doesn't understand human talk because she'd be giving me a huge glare right now.
Batman's like, I'm in that bat pussy, because he calls everything a bat. But, anyway.
Batman. They're given a 5-second head start before the heroes track them down and throw them in jail where they belong. Because when it comes to the Justice League, punishing a person for the crimes they've committed is the entire point of the show.
Right. The difference between that and Dragon Ball, because they're literal superheroes. So Dragon Ball, they're not just gonna let Vegeta just walking around. I mean, they can't do anything against Vegeta. I mean, unjustly, they wouldn't just let a character like Vegeta just walk around. Now they can do anything, but yeah.
I mean, Vegeta would literally kill the entire Justice League, so I don't know what they would do.
Yeah, they wouldn't do anything, but yeah, the point is basically the show is about justice and things like that because they're superheroes, while Dragon Ball isn't really about that. So it is a difference in context as well.
Well, yeah, because Justice League is supposed to be more realistic in that sense.
They're heroes, so
yeah,
it's like
they're written to seem like they could exist in our world.
Yeah, like yeah, it depends. Yeah, definitely that depends on setting too, because yeah, like the Justice League probably wouldn't have somebody like Hiei in their crew or something, even if Hiei reformed or anything or something, But yeah,
hell, it's the entire point of the genre. Emotion, sanity, setting. With these three factors, we're able to partially deduce whether or not a villain deserves sympathy and whether or not they can be redeemed. All that's needed is one final ingredient: purpose.
I thought I was going to say Chemical X. Or Chemical V for villain.
What exactly are the villain's goals? Their motives?
I'm gonna get some pizza. They're here. All right, back. Okay, I'm black and I'm back. Are you ready, man?
Mm-hmm.
How you feel about this video so far?
It's interesting.
Okay. You enjoying it?
I mean, I'm listening to it.
Okay.
The why of their plans. Are they a
Okay, so now you get into purpose.
criminal or a freedom fighter? Are they looking for personal gain or something more altruistic? When taking this into consideration, it's easy to suss out whether a villain is truly despicable or just misguided. And I've done exactly that. Using emotion, sanity, setting, and purpose, I've picked what I personally think are some of the most irredeemable villains in fiction that I personally know of. But before that, I just want to make 3 stipulations. I've avoided adding villains that are manifestations of evil like Darkseid, Aku, and the Lich, as well
Which makes sense.
as devil analogues like Mephisto,
Why,
and
though?
Haunter Odin.
Because
Dark-
they're literally made to be evil. They're literally beings who are, evil because of how they are.
Yeah. Okay. I get that.
Like,
Darkseid, I'm not too familiar with. So
like the devil. The devil is evil because he's literally a man. Like Aku is. He said Aku is a literal manifestation of evil, so he can't really put Aku here because Aku kind of almost doesn't have a choice in a weird way because he's literally made of evil.
yeah.
It's just like how an irredeemable character is based on their own choices of being that way. I guess just basically kind of what he's saying.
Him and primordial forces like Galactus and Desire. I've only included characters that are subject to the
You said
same.
what?
I was gonna say Galactus only destroyed planets because he needed to eat. Like, how's that evil?
That's why he said he's not including primary forces.
You should never include Galactus. The man only destroys planets.
Primero means they do villainous names because they need to eat and stuff. Primero.
I don't know if that makes you villainous if you need to feed yourself.
Yeah, that's why he's not including them.
Immorality as we are.
He's only including characters who have the same morality as we are, as we have.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's exactly why I say you can only base, the human morality.
He included characters that are subject to the same morality as we are. Now then, let's get started. Zebediah Kilgrave.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Okay.
I thought it was Kilgrave.
Truly depraved piece of garbage who used his mind control powers to abuse countless people. And while he didn't do anything to Jessica Jones physically, he shattered her mentally and made her an unwilling accessory to his crimes.
Wait, he didn't do anything to her
Such a
physically?
little cockroach that most
Nah.
I thought he raped her.
In the TV show, he did.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the idea is that he said, "You want to sleep with me," and she.
Well,
doesn't.
no. Oh, yeah. He did still rape her because he mentally controlled her to do it.
Right.
He doesn't like stab people and stuff, physically.
No, he would have you do that to yourself.
Right.
comic writers make it a point for him to get the ever-loving shit kicked from her, an unwilling accessory to his crimes. He is such a little cockroach that most comic writers make it a point for him to get the ever-loving shit kicked out of him whenever he's shown up in the comics post-Alias.
Yet, why not the Joker? The
Griffith.
Joker's just as bad.
A living incarnation of betrayal.
Good point.
His horrific acts committed during the eclipse have caused lasting physical and psychological damage to Guts and Casca, and after he opened up the astral world, he's responsible for the deaths of countless innocent people. Despite what he
What a
believes,
piece of shit.
Griffith has done everything
Yeah,
wrong.
I just want to say, anybody who tries to claim that, Griffith was in any way, right for what he did, no, sorry.
Yep.
Like, the man is honestly one of the...
Not the what?
He is easily one of the most evil people, evil fictional characters I've ever seen. Easily.
He's a complete monster. I agree.
Yeah.
Raped
No
best
redeemable
friend's girl.
qualities whatsoever.
Raped his best friend's girl right in front of him. Like,
Yeah.
man, while he's clawing his eyes out and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Griffith was supposed to become the personification of evil because he basically becomes Satan.
Yeah. He becomes a demon.
Yep.
Porky Minch.
Porky Minch? What kind of name?
From Earthbound.
That name is just funny.
He's from Earthbound.
Porky Minch, and then the way he said it.
The phrase little shit. Porky is pretty much responsible for all the grief and suffering in Earthbound and Mother 3. He's a narcissistic, petulant child throughout the entirety of his existence and would sooner end all life on the planet than share anything with anyone.
That's super petty.
And now for some quick-fire, dishonorable mentions. The Flamingo, Ridley, Bondrew, Dolores Umbridge, Hannibal Lecter, Carnage,
That's why I got Carnage Abbey. Exactly why I got the Carnage Abbey.
It's interesting that he would go with somebody as recent as Doflamingo. It's interesting that he would go with somebody as recent as Doflamingo.
What's that?
No, because I guess he's clearly seen a lot of older stuff.
Right.
But I mean, it's nice to see that.
Good point. That's a good point. You know, it's good that he's introducing the newer stuff and the older stuff. That's a good point.
Go. Reverse Flash.
It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it'd seem like you nutted at just a woman's touch.
Patrick
Did
Bateman.
you say jerked you off? It sounds like you said I jerked you off at the speed of light.
That's just a whole that's a whole thing where he basically tells Barry that I think it was something like remember that time you was dancing with a girl and you came in your pants? It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed, so it seemed like
God. Now I can't get that image out of my head. Oh,
like that's such a petty, irredeemable act, but it's also funny because it's just so ridiculous. It's just
at least he didn't say something else.
It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed, so it's like just a woman's touch.
I don't just imagine his hand being down there. Ugh.
Just a super speed, so he thought that him hitting the girl's leg was what made him his dang hitting the girl's leg is what made him fail nothing November.
Carnage, Kefka, Reverse Flash.
It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it'd seem like you nutted at just a woman's touch.
At least you didn't say I sucked you off at super speed.
That's so fucked up.
It is so messed up, and the fact that he's smiling about it, it's almost like he has the hot for Barry because he's smiling about doing it, like oh, I just want you to myself, Barry. Please be mine.
The most ridiculous evil act ever.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but honestly, it is pretty awful.
Can you imagine, bro? Somebody you off of super speed, do you even know it, bro? Like you just that's so insane, man.
Patrick Bateman, Ted Farrow, Orochimaru.
Yeah, Orochimaru should never been reformed. Fuck him.
Yeah, he should have just died. He should have died. He should have died.
Look at that tongue, though. What that tongue do, though?
Frollo.
Yeah, Frollo. I agree.
Hojo.
And he's saying the super speed round, so he's just going through them fast.
Iago. Mr. Sinister.
Oh, that's interesting that he used a real life.
Iago?
Isn't that a real life character?
Does he mean the parrot from Aladdin?
No, he's showing it.
Hojo. Iago.
This person, Iago. That's interesting. He's using a real life person to call Irredeemable. I thought he was just going with fictional characters. But okay.
Well,
Mr. Sid.
Well, what?
I was gonna say I am surprised he didn't go with someone else for the realistic for the real person, but
Hitler.
I can understand why he wouldn't, because it's still too. I mean, there's still too much pain attached to all of that, so I can understand why he wouldn't have gone with him.
I got you. They got no talking about.
It's World War II is still so recent.
He probably just wanted to be different too, because everybody would say him. Everybody would use him.
Overhaul. Dio. Sephiroth.
Overhaul. Okay. Yeah. I guess I don't remember he really went over that, but he never really went over backstory. How much do we account for backstory? Because I remember Overhaul had a tragic backstory.
I know nothing about Overhaul.
Overhaul is definitely, he definitely is willing to kill innocent lives and stuff and things like that. He's definitely a monster. He's definitely a complete monster, but he does also have a tragic backstory. But just because you have a tragic backstory, don't mean you're not irredeemable, though.
Well, yeah, that's true. There's a villain I know of that I actually felt for, and I mean really felt for. And
like who?
And it's not who you think. You ever see the series? It's an anime series, Speedgrapher.
Oh yeah, I still haven't seen it. You can talk about it though.
So, all right, but I'm gonna have to preface it by saying massive spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Speedgrapher or plans to watch it.
Spoiler warning at this part of the stream.
So Choji Suitengu was the son of his father owed a lot of money to some kind of criminal organization. It's been such a long time since I've seen it. I don't remember all of the details. But so what happened was, because his father couldn't afford to pay what was owed, Choji and his sister, who were about, I think he was 10 and his sister was maybe like 6. And what happened was they took them and sold them into slavery. Well, not slavery, but his sister was sold into the sex trade. And he was sold to some guy for whatever reason who had a sick, twisted, I'm not going to go into it just to going to go too far into it because I don't want to see, this video get taken down. There are some things that I know YouTube will straight up flag things for, but let's just say that he had it pretty rough. I can go more into detail in Discord at some point if you want. Anyway, because of what happened to him and his sister.
Join Discord, by the way.
Yeah. Because of what happened to him and his sister. Oh, and something I forgot to mention is that he was eventually sold to the military as a soldier and managed to survive the war he fought in and basically built a criminal empire through which he planned to use the resources he had acquired to destroy, I don't think it was the entire world's economy, but to destroy all of Japan's economy. Because money was essentially the reason as to why he and his sister went through what they went through. And it wasn't until
That's pretty understandable.
It wasn't until decades later that he finally found his sister.
I don't even know he's irredeemable then.
Well, I mean, but yeah, and what happened was he had been looking for his sister for so long, he finally found her in some kind of.
So does he kill like massive amounts of innocence or something? He doesn't sound irredeemable. He sounds pretty tragic.
I don't think so, actually. I mean, he has killed, but a lot of people. I'd have to rewatch it. I don't think so, though.
I'm talking about innocents. Has he's killed like innocents, like multiple innocents?
I don't think he has.
Well,
And
how's he irredeemable?
because he was going to literally collapse the entire economy.
I mean that's bad. That is really really bad. But
Um,
I don't know if that's
but what ended up happening was he finally found his sister,
yeah,
and
he's not irredeemable. Yeah, we can.
she was
We can move on.
so
Like,
broken.
I have to see it. He don't sound redeemable. That's
Well,
bad. It is bad. What
No,
he's doing.
I was only mentioning him because I actually felt visibly saddened for him because of this one scene where he finally finds his sister who was just emotionally broken from being involved in prostitution for so long that he decided to end her pain by killing her.
Yeah, that's really really sad, man.
Yeah, it's really sad.
I
I
do gotta
mean,
check out the series because he sounds like an amazing villain, though.
he is, but like as you're watching it, when you learn his backstory, you're like, yeah, I probably would have done the same thing.
He doesn't sound like an irredeemable villain, though. That's what I thought you was bringing up, like a villain that had a tragic backstory that was he wrote irredeemable though.
Right.
But yeah, we can continue.
Okay.
Pull it back up. Pull it back up right here. I like how useful StreamYard is. Like, shout out to whoever created StreamYards.
I could look it up.
Even if the sound isn't perfect, once Cat, likely gets a laptop soon, we'll probably be able to deal with this stuff easier. And he can still hear it fair enough. Like, Cat still is picking up stuff pretty well.
Nurse Ratchet, pretty much all the Persona 5 Palace rulers, and of course, the Joker. Why I'm convinced it's actually sane and that his whole one bad day is all it takes to go full Looney Tunes is all an act. So there you have it, a list of what I believe to be some of the most despicable villains in fiction. Of course, there are a whole lot more characters that deserve to be on that list, but I decided to stop at 20 or else I'd wear my tongue ragged rattling them off. And while I have an intense hatred for all of these villains, I can't help but enjoy reading, watching, and playing the stories they inhabit, as well as their individual characters. Well, except for Purple Man, and Umbridge, and Orochimaru.
And basically just saying, Yaya villains that he hates, and
It's funny. He as upon watching this video, I remembered another favorite villain of mine. That's from Final Fantasy 15.
So yeah, that was the video. That was a good video, man. I think it was a great video.
It was, and I don't know what is going. Okay,
because he was here for most of it. But the reason why that was a great video and I wanted that to be more known, more shown, is for the simple fact that he really broke it down. He really broke down the setting, the emotion.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening. My battery got really low, and I guess that kicked me out somehow.
Yeah, I mean, we finished the video though, but I mean, we could talk about it a little bit. But I think he basically went over what definitely could be used for writers. Because yes, it depends on the setting. Yes, it depends on the emotion. Yes, it depends on the sanity. It depends, what type of story you're trying to portray. Like if it's a story that's really heavy on redemption, if the other characters who are supposed to root for aren't exactly, how to put this, morally clean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That could maybe put some kind of, how redeemable the villains can be in comparison. And the sanity, of course, matters because someone who's completely out of their freaking mind cannot be held to the same extent as someone who is completely in control of their actions. And it is, of course, true a middle ground to where with the Red Hood, where it's to like, yes, the Lazarus kind of made him more corrupted in a way because of the fact that it tormented him. But even though it tormented him, it's not as if it's controlling his mind. He's still in control of his own actions. And then what was
it's the same thing with Ra's al Ghul. I mean, he's been affected by the Lazarus pit for so long, but he's still in control of himself.
Right. And there's also what he said, emotion. Emotion matters too. What's the reasoning you're doing these things? Like he said, Alucard, Dracula, whatever. Yes, he's committed genocide on humanity, but it's not like he's like some ha 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 doing it. It's because of out of grief. Yeah. So that was really good. That was really
Not
good.
to mention, I don't know if you could hold a vampire like Dracula to the same human standards because he's no longer human. Like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean, he would still need to be dealt with, of course, but
Ryan's pursuit to maintain order.
Yeah. And then I think it was great too when he was talking about the quote unquote acceptable acts of murder and villainy in the unacceptable. And yeah, that was just, man, it was great. It was stuff we already knew, but I just think it did a really good job of really putting it together, really starting from here and there. And it'd definitely be better if you watch on your own someday or something, without all the cutting out and stuff, because, yeah. And it's a video I'll go back to in writing. So anything else you want to add?
to the video?
To this discussion, the stream? We said all our 2 cents.
Let's see.
I've never seen a big man big on the roof. Big on the roof. Big on the roof.
Fiddler on the Roof.
It's a whole thing. Somebody said, never seen a big man. I've never seen a big man get on the roof. Get on the roof. It's something silly.
Is that well? I've seen that movie, but I wasn't sure if that was a song.
It's a video. It's a video.
Okay. Something to add. Let's see. What? What's funny?
I just say you got a complete brain fart, man.
Well, honestly, I was playing a game the entire time we were listening to the video. Because I can, for the most part, multitask when it comes to that. But
there's stuff you agree with, stuff you disagree with.
I can't really say I disagree with the reasoning. I can't disagree with the reasoning.
What you mean?
His basis for, whether someone's redeemable or not is accurate.
Yeah, it's pretty clean cut. That's why I was like, this is actually good.
I mean, the only thing I would probably be able to say is maybe add people that weren't mentioned, but no, something that I would say is, it also I guess this is definitely this is the setting, of course, but it also depends on.
I wish you would have added backstory. I know.
I agree. I think backstory is important too, because, I mean, yeah, backstory definitely ties into really fun.
That would have been a good part. I maybe he technically kind of did, but he didn't go into it as much as I think he should have regarding backstory. He brought up the motive of Mr. Freeze and why he's doing what he did, but he didn't really bring up the backstory, I feel like, of anybody else besides that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why he wouldn't, because he didn't want to put out an hour long.
I mean, it wasn't an hour
of-
long. We was an hour long. That video was 11 some minutes.
No, I know. I guess he wanted to keep it short and sweet. That was the reason why it was only 11 minutes.
I guess because he thinks backstory doesn't specifically matter, maybe as much.
I disagree because
I mean, I don't know what he died about. It'd be cool. I'm gonna see if I can get. I'm gonna see if I can get into contact with him.
Backstory has to matter because the whole point of any story is the story. So anything that ties it all together is inherently necessary. You can't ignore. It's like trying to build a train track with
because he was saying their modes without talking about their backstory. That's true.
But their backstory can be the reason for their motives.
Right.
I guess the reason why it's mentioned is because it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of things. Like your backstory can be why you became insane. Your backstory can be, why you have the motive that you have.
You don't specifically need a backstory specifically.
Yeah, that's true. It ties everything. Anyway,
backstories can help a character, but they don't need it specifically. Depend on the character.
It depends on the writing. It depends on how lifelike you want your character to be. If you don't want them to be that lifelike, then you can create somebody like the Joker or Frieza who don't have a backstory that tells you why they are the way they are. It all depends on your personal choice. Like, do you?
I think the most important point though to remember is the setting, because people be like, well, this character reformed in this story, so how come this character can't reform in this story? It depends on the setting, and it depends on a lot of different things.
It depends on the laws that exist within your story's universe. I mean, the Justice League, for example, with the exception of the fact that there are people with powers in it, is very real because they have it takes place on the planet Earth. Crimes are
maybe you should have put that too. It also depends maybe on how forgivable the characters are. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
they pretty forgivable of Orochimaru, but I argue that he's definitely 100% irredeemable. But,
well, he's not redeemable. I mean, I
say he's irredeemable, but they forgive him. So maybe forgiveness isn't like a point that he could have, put. Because just because how the other characters act in the story doesn't mean you have to agree with it, though.
Orochimaru being forgiven is just bad writing. It's just bad writing.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean,
although I have thought about this, I hope no one steals this, but I've thought about this before, of creating a character who has crossed the line so many times that they know they would never be able to truly make up for all their actions, but they're still willing to do the right thing now.
I think depending on the rules of your story, you can create a villain who
does what? He got kicked out again. But what I was basically saying is, what was I saying? Basically, I think that'd just be a good idea. Like a character who can't truly be redeemed. They know they crossed the line so many times, but they still gonna try to do the right thing anyways. I mean, that's been done before, probably, likely, very likely. And that's just an interesting idea for a character that you could still write a character like Orochimaru and just put out the idea that they're never going to truly make up for all their actions, but they're still going to do the right thing, even though they know that they can never actually truly make up for all their actions because the right thing to do. Right. It's not like, oh, Orochimaru, you just helped us with this war one time. Oh, and Yeah, we just completely forgive you and just give you the common bills. No, bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Horseradish. Absolute horseradish. Yeah.
My phone's battery is for some reason preventing me from staying in because I guess it's trying to charge and
Well, you could just finish up real quick, just real fast.
what was I even saying?
You were saying they depend on the setting or something. Something about you can make
No,
a villain who does something.
what I was trying to say is depending on the rules of your story, that means like let me think a rule. For example, if we were talking about a story where demonic possession existed or ghosts being able to possess people existed, right? And then let's say a villain was prior to being a villain was taken over by another force and forced to commit all these horrible acts and kill people and all sorts of things. And then let's say that force that took that person over left eventually, that's a way in which you could make it so that the villain is completely redeemable because the villain was being controlled.
Yeah, that's where the sanity comes from. But I think it depends on the. This also ties on themes. The setting. It depends on the themes of the story. Like if the theme of the story is a big part of the story's redemption, you know what I'm saying? If it's not just some hardcore, we kill our enemies type thing. Like if it's also a story that truly believes in redemption, then you can redeem some villains.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we basically talked about everything. Everything's been over with. I think this was a good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show the video to you and to everyone else because I really broke it down really, really well. And yeah, we maybe do some things like this in the future, with maybe better audio issues or something. I don't know. But make sure you stay tuned for the next one. Peace, life stripe. Stay tuned for the next one. And we out.